What's going on, everybody? This is The Hype, episode 295. No Doug yet. Doug will be here a little later with a fun little pre-tape segment we did with Joe Staley. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's me, it's Dan, it's C-Rad. What's going on, guys? Lot of new releases to talk about, but the bulk of today's episode is going to be our conversation with Joe Staley. You know, Joe joined us officially a few months ago. We haven't really had a chance to sit down with him, talk about how he got into this hobby, some of his favorite memories of being in the 49ers. So we decided let's sit down and have a Mojo session with Joe. That's going to be coming up here shortly. But before we get to that, I have to talk about, before we get even to trading cards here, did you guys see Shohei Ohtani last night? Or two nights ago if you're listening to this.
10 strikeouts and 2 home runs?
Yeah. 10 strikeouts, 2
Just another day at the office.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, that's like game regular for him.
Yeah, this is normal.
That's why, I'm not real surprised. It's just kind of whatever. It's okay. I mean, he would have been better if he would have hit 4 home runs and maybe 20 strikeouts.
And this is the part that dawned on me. It's like it's starting to scare me now. I'm like, are we numb to how impressive this guy is now? Like, I looked at, so I decided, oh, he's got 28 home runs. He's leading baseball again in home runs. So I had to look through 306 at-bats. In 2021, the year he won the MVP, the quote-unquote greatest season a baseball player's ever had, he had 278 batting average, 362 on base, 690 slugging, 33 home runs, 65 runs. Through 306 at-bats this year, 304 batting average, 386 on base, 654 slugging, 28 home runs, 55 runs. And then, through 16 games pitching, 3.02 ERA, 127 strikeouts through 16 games pitching 2021. 2.93 ERA, 106 strikeouts.
So he's going to win the MVP again as well.
He's going to do it again.
But could he possibly, but he should also probably win the Cy Young.
I mean, it's possible.
So could he get the Cy Young, the MVP, just everything? Could we just say that he is maybe the greatest player ever to do it?
I think we have entered that discussion now. We are now entering the is Shohei the best player we have ever seen discussion. He certainly.
Well, there's been no other player that's done anything that he's not even close.
No. And in terms of stop and watch, the last time this happened was Barry Bonds, who was the greatest player I had ever seen.
Ronald Acuna, you're great. You're a great ball player.
He's fantastic this year.
But your pitching is terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad, really bad on the mound. Can't be relied on. Can't give you 7 strong like Shohei can.
Ohtani can do everything, man. I don't, but I do think we take it for granted. I think we're like, oh, well, it's just, think about if there was another player that had that stat line from a couple nights ago. People would be like, Ellie De La Cruz. Let's say that he was like, hey, the Reds need a starter. He went out there and he had 10 strikeouts and he probably went 7 strong. The hobby industry would stop and would flip out.
Yeah. To have 2 guys who can do that simultaneously.
But Ohtani does, and it's like, oh, well, it's just another day at the office.
Yeah.
But if Ellie De La Cruz did it, the world would stop, and everybody would be talking about it.
Well, rightfully so. Ellie, fantastic run by him. Player of the week a week ago, alongside Luis Robert.
He's no Ohtani.
But he's no Ohtani.
He isn't. He's not even close.
Yeah,
that's a terrible pitcher.
That's the thing. We're almost numb to it, and yet he's probably going to make. Now I saw some industry estimates where they're like, oh, 500 million, 550 million, no, not even close. You go higher and keep going.
Just
higher.
give him the franchise he signs with.
Yeah,
this is we're gonna give you come here, Giants. Ohtani, you now own the Giants.
I feel like
the San Francisco Shoheis.
I'm all for it. I feel like I might have brought it up on an episode, but especially now after the Messi deal, that is what the Shohei deal has to be. It has to be that level of insane.
Billion?
Maybe.
Can you get $1
I
billion?
don't know. Maybe. We've never run into this before. Never.
I really don't think people talk about Shohei enough.
They don't.
He does, he just doesn't get enough credit. And he's a little too humble for what he does.
A little bit. I mean, but you know what, though? He always is doing something that girls, at least in the baseball world, that goes viral where he does something funny on the mound or he does a little funny thing.
Yeah, but he needs to have press conferences and being like,
I'm the best.
Like, he needs to be like the Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights. I'm essentially the best there ever is, ever was, and ever will be.
Man.
I feel like if Shohei maybe was maybe American player, he could possibly pull it off. But as a Japanese player, probably not. He can't do that. I don't think. Culturally, I don't think no Japanese player would probably ever do that.
Yeah, that might be. And look, and also the Angels need to finally make the playoffs there. That's part of it too. Like if he was on the Yankees, it would be the only thing we talk about. We would not stop talking.
Hypothetical question, like you said, if he was on the Yankees, we would absolutely be talking about him all day. And I agree.
I mean, what
about if he's on what if he is on a team, not the Angels,
on the
a team that's
Rockies.
winning?
Ooh.
What about Shohei Ohtani as a Colorado? First
of all, he's 80 home runs.
He'd have 100 home runs already.
Right. So we would be talking about it. That is the one outlier right there.
My issue, and this sucks. I mean, the Angels, you could make an argument, have the two best players in baseball.
Right. And they
we're
got
like,
nothing to show for it.
They may squeak into the playoffs. That's like what, like the ceiling is like. They may be able to get into the wild card.
And it's weird because this is the year where if they're going to take that division, Houston right now, they're like right there with Houston. Texas, though, all of a sudden, he's the best team in that division.
The rest of the clubhouse, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, they need to
They should look around and go like, wow.
They need to get both those guys in.
We need to be a little bit better than we are right now.
Yeah. So I just had to throw it out there. I cannot believe he's doing it again. And whatever he gets this offseason, it simply isn't enough unless you're like, here's 5% ownership stake in the team plus, $700 million.
It's like the Angels are like having Jordan and LeBron James on the same team, but like getting in the 8th seed, just barely getting in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like being like 10 games below 500. Like, how does that happen?
Different sports. You can't have two. I mean, look, we saw a lot of Giants. Look, I equate it to the Giants too because it's what I know best. But like, we saw a lot of Giants teams where Barry Bonds was doing incredible stuff, and they didn't make the playoffs every year.
He was one player.
True.
They didn't have two Barry Bonds.
No,
they would have two Barry Bonds. They would have won at least one championship.
Well, yeah, I'd hope so. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say Jeff Kent, but Jeff Kent, even at that time, he won an MVP.
He's not Trout.
I wouldn't compare him to like Mike Trout.
No, not at all. So I am in a weird way like rooting for them. I always say it. I'm rooting for them to make the playoffs at this point. It's been long enough. 2002 was long enough ago.
The Angels are, being a Rams fan, majority of the Rams fans are actually Angels fans.
Really? Well, I guess that stems back
because they played in Orange County, Anaheim Stadium. They shared a stadium with them. So, yeah.
All right.
Go Angels.
Go Halos.
I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Rally Monkey, but
no. Bad monkey.
Bad Rally Monkey.
Bad monkey. Stop it. All right. Well, let's get to talking a little bit about trading cards before we go to the interview with Joe Staley.
I have a question about the Joe Staley interview.
Yes.
Is he going to talk about his love and passion for Rams and Raiders football?
Zero chance.
Oh.
Negative zero chance.
I swear I've had conversations with him, and he's been like, I really love the Rams. And I think Conrad's heard. He's like, man, I heard he's a big Raider fan.
I heard him and Whitworth are buddies, big time buddies.
Well, why wouldn't you be a big friend of Big Wit?
Yeah, I've heard Joe say that he would have loved to one day,
if he could
put on that black and silver.
He could pick one team to go out there and play for. I think Raider Nation.
Yeah, well,
he said he looks good in black and silver, and I can't disagree.
Love to hang out in Black Hole.
If Joe, if you're listening, I am not a part of this. I did not plan this out.
Hey, I sat through that interview and I said pretty much nothing. So this is the closest thing that I can come in and give the listeners, because it was a lot of like,
Oh yes, that's
A
all.
lot, there's a lot of like.
A lot of reminiscing.
I mean, it was a Niner podcast. Let's be honest.
There was a lot of hobby talk at the
There's
beginning,
okay,
and people will hear it. They're going to
was
hear it here in a few minutes.
Niner podcast with a little bit like hobby talk sprinkled in.
Yes. And, well, some good Niner stuff.
There was
Good Niner
We were
stuff.
going through the coaching staff. I mean, it was. We were living it. I felt like I was in there.
Well, that'll be coming up here shortly, so enjoy
I'm
that.
looking
some
forward
great,
to it.
Some great stories, stuff that we have not heard about. If you're a big Niner fan or just in general, just want to hear some inside the NFL stuff. It's some good stuff. But like we were saying, new releases coming out this week. Here, let me just run down the big ones. 2022-23 Select Basketball, 2022 Chronicles Football, 22-23 Immaculate Soccer, 22-23, what do we got? Upper Deck Synergy Hockey, 22 Upper Deck Goodwin Champions, 22-23 Bowman University Basketball, Bowman's Best University Basketball. What else am I missing? 2022 Panini 1, maybe? Is that coming out this week?
There's a UEFA?
Yes, I believe
There's
the
a Chrome.
Yeah.
And there's an MLS high-end product as well.
That is correct. There's also an MLS.
Is Panini 1 coming out?
It's
on Friday,
it's
yeah.
on the schedule for Friday, yeah.
Wow.
A lot.
I actually don't think there's enough. I think we can double that number.
Of those,
I think today we have 25 breaks scheduled.
it's been a busy day. It's been a very busy day around these parts.
It's been a busy day.
Of those products, feels like Select Basketball, maybe I don't know. There's a lot of big names here. I guess Select Basketball jumps off the page to me as like the most anticipated of all of those, right?
Yeah.
Any in particular that we're most excited to rip, or the best one here, C-Rad?
Obviously the soccer stuff is kind of interesting because we're getting 3 of them. We're getting a UEFA product. We're getting a product that mixes, FIFA and Premier League and all the Premier Leagues and stuff from Panini with Immaculate. And then we got the high-end MLS product, which is like a 2-hit, kind of almost Sterling type product for MLS. And we just got done talking about MLS these last, 3 weeks now. So I don't know. Maybe now is the time to jump on that MLS stuff because – with the hype of Messi coming into that league, maybe a lot of the better young players in the MLS right now, they'll start to get more shine in sports in general. And, I think it's $180 a box for basically 2 encased hits, I believe. So, I don't know. It might be time. That's what's interesting to me. Obviously, Panini 1 I feel is like the biggest, probably going to be the biggest product of the week. There's always some beautiful cards that come out of there. Select Basketball is always a staple, of course, and they haven't really changed as much in terms of different levels like football did this year with the suite level. So, I mean, it looks to be another nice set with some pretty cool inserts.
Yeah, I'm looking also at Panini 1 football, just see if there's anything new. Surge. That's the big one.
It's great soda from back in the day.
I knew it was coming. Loved Surge.
Yeah, I mean, it had Mountain Dew vibes.
It did.
But it was better.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Mountain Dew, but Surge was good.
Yeah, Mountain Dew, I'll take it over. But also, unfortunately, the Surge vibes ends at the name. Doesn't look like Surge soda. That would have been cool. But, I'm sure there's some rights with Coca-Cola Company or whatever.
That's right, Coca-Cola. I
believe they own it.
Surge is still
comes up pops up every once in a while. It's like the McRib of sodas. Every once in a while, it's just
nothing
hiding.
better. Well-balanced lunch.
A McRib and a can of Surge.
A McRib and a Surge.
But that's where the vibes end. It's like a splatter painting. I kind of like it. If you guys have had a chance to look at that short print.
No, it looks cool.
Yeah, I think it looks cool.
But
not the soda.
The soda looks delicious.
Missed opportunity. Big missed opportunity. Wasn't, am I wrong? Panini 1 basketball had downtown, or what is it? I guess.
Whoa, bro.
Sorry.
1-1.
1-1. Apologies. I know it's 1-1. They would have downtowns. Downtowns there's no downtowns here in Panini 1 football. That would have been
absolutely not because they got downtowns in 3 other products.
That's
for
right.
Football.
Too many.
It's only one card.
So they had to have something to differentiate it. So Surge,
Now
You're on the board.
it's obviously a super short print, mind you, and
Yep.
when you just said it, Panini 1 is one card, and so it's always been a hit. How would you feel just getting that one super short print insert in a box, in a $500 box of Panini 1?
I want my ink. Oh man, no. I want my autograph.
Yeah, that's the one caveat. I was like, damn, like it looks nice, and it's obviously gonna command a premium for the better players, but it replaces literally an autograph.
Yeah, I don't love that. I
Yeah,
don't love that.
So there are only 15. Here's the checklist: Mahomes, Brady, Herbert, Allen, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, Randy Moss, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Kenny Pickett, Aiden Hutchinson, Drake London, Chris Olave, Breece Hall. So super short list of subjects. So
I wouldn't mind any of those except maybe some of those rookie receivers and running
Yeah.
backs.
That'd be tough.
I would not. Yeah. Now they probably look cool though.
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a cool looking card. So I'm sure it'll do well out the gate.
I believe if the shipping department was voting which product they would like the most this year,
Panini
or
1.
this week, it would definitely be Panini 1.
Most definitely. Hey, Goodwin is back. I
Goodwin
know.
is back.
We saw. I think C-Rad put it up in our Slack.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
Well, okay, fair enough. We won't talk about it then.
Product's alive.
The product's alive and well.
Product's alive.
Product's alive and well.
It's just one of them.
Just one.
It's just one.
It's a
just
really cool
one-
card.
It's
I
one of
should
the
mention.
cards. There's a lot of great hits in that product
Yeah.
still. Yeah.
But no, like seriously, I want to touch real quick again the fact that we don't too often get 3 soccer products from both manufacturers on the same week.
It's kind of crazy.
And it's kind of like they're all covering all different markets, right? So it's interesting. I'm like very curious to see which product soccer collectors actually prefer out of the 3.
I like that MLS angle you had though. That maybe this is the first one to take advantage of the Messi hype, which I believe all road games for Inter Miami are now sold out right now.
So like it's not like obviously Messi is not in this
No,
product
he's
yet,
not
but
in it.
Topps must have like they had some type of foresight because they created this. They probably solicited this product like a year ago, maybe. It's literally a high end MLS product.
If
you think about
I
it,
don't-
why would they make a high?
I
MLS
don't know.
product?
I don't know when there's been a solicitation for it, and honestly, this is news to me.
Yeah.
Like we're breaking news. I'm finding out about this product
It's
now.
Like, it's called what is it called? MLS Reconnaissance.
I gotta look it up. I
I
gotta
don't
look
know.
it up.
Do we have any coming?
Yeah,
the question.
Renaissance 2022 Topps Renaissance
It's a 2-hit
MLS.
product.
Yeah, I don't know when this was solicited. I don't.
And
I
we're
mean-
looking at there's cut autos in here as well of
Cut
iconic.
rate.
So there are going to
Cut
be
autos
Yeah, cut autos
in the MLS.
in the MLS.
Of who?
We've got. Here you go. Cuts from the pitch. I'm
excited.
sure. Look, and there's gonna be people who are soccer
Oh yeah,
collectors
destroy
in
the
chat.
names. Just go for it. Well,
Okay, George
okay,
Best. That's a name I know. That's a big one. George Best.
from the MLS.
No, just a soccer legend. I don't know. He might have been in the MLS at some point. I don't know. I'm
like,
sorry, guys.
These can't be cut autographs of players who were in the MLS.
Well, there's a
correct? MLS
Ferenc
hasn't been around that long.
Puskas, Gary Speed, John Charles, Mark Vivian Foe, and Phil O'Donnell. Those are your cut autos.
Yeah,
I'm assuming they're just soccer legends, probably.
Right.
And Topps decided to just put them in to sprinkle it, juice it up the MLS a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about soccer. Don't know a lot about the history of soccer. I have no idea who those players were that you just mentioned.
So I mean, look, MLS has had, that's what I thought maybe they would pull from this. There is big names throughout the history of MLS. Like
And I'm sure there's some young, exciting players that
Yeah.
we don't even know. That's
Sure.
not even
no,
near our
yeah.
radar.
I mean, there's collectability in the MLS for sure. I think it's a market that is, even without the Messi news, I felt it was undervalued for what you get. Because there's a lot of those players that they may start in the MLS and they go and they play in other leagues, Premier League, stuff like that, or they end up playing in the World Cup. There was a fair amount of like players who were playing in the MLS who were playing for their country.
Yeah.
In the World Cup.
Yeah, plenty of guys on Team USA who are MLS guys, not across, not in Europe. So there's a market, and I think also it is like planting your flag now. Like, hey, here's the high end MLS product, and a year from now, guess who's gonna be in it? It's gonna be the guy we all are chasing. So now here's what it's gonna look like. So kind of just like I said, planting that flag about a year ahead of time. So that's definitely something to look at. And again, guys, if you want to go and get breaks of these products, get into breaks of these products.
Maybe.
There you go. Dan says maybe. Well,
I don't know if we have any.
Well,
But
of
yeah,
all the
but
other
I
products we
mean,
talked about.
You can check it out. Let me know.
For most of these products, we'll keep you updated on Topps Renaissance. But for sure, Chronicles, Select, Goodwin, all those, you definitely can find.
That. We got it. We got everything. We got everything except for that MLS Renaissance. Not sure about that. Maybe.
We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see. The listeners will be the first to know.
And if you do, go to mojobreak.com. That's where you can find it. And that's where you can find all.
If we have it, it'll be there.
There you go.
That's where it will be.
That's where they go.
That's where they go.
All right. With that, we hand it over to Doug and Dan as well.
Yeah, you're there.
And I'm there too.
Yeah, you're there.
I was there too. I was trying to grill Joe on some
Joe
questions.
was in this seat. I was over there. Doug was there. You were over there.
That's right.
We should promote the NSCC party again, right?
Oh, you better believe we do.
Spots are filling up.
They are. Man,
I mean,
first of all, shout out to everybody because it's been mostly the listeners
Tickets
of
are
this
end up
podcast.
they're going to end up on
start.
StubHub.
That's right.
I mean, people are going to be
hawking them
scalping them over here
on the streets, like
right.
right outside the National.
There's gonna be guys out in the front like looking for tickets.
You made it. If there's somebody out in front of the National holding up like need tickets
to the Mojo Break party.
Mojo Break party.
Yeah, we'll make it. So shout out to again, our listeners were the first ones to fill this up, to get in on this, and it's filling up fast. So thank you guys for doing that, and there are still spots available if you guys want to get to the party. The Eventbrite page, easy for me to say, is now public. If you go to any of our social medias, you can find it. Of course, if you can't find it, just go to Eventbrite and now go and search Mojo Break, and you should be able to find it. It should pop up, but again, it's all over our social medias now. Tickets are limited, so get in while you can. Going to be incredible stuff. We're going to have some special guest appearances. We're going to have the karaoke party. We're going to have giveaways. It's going to be a blast. You do not want to miss it. If you're coming to the National in Rosemont, check it out and RSVP today. And with that, let's throw it over to Mojo Sessions with Joe Staley.
What's up, everybody? This is Joe Staley. I'm here with Doug, here with Dan, and today's guest is myself. I'm in the hot seat, and I cannot wait. I am going to get into my love for the hobby. I'm going to get into my love for these two guys, and also they're going to grill me about everything, anything 49ers and NFL and about me. So cannot wait to see what these guys come up with as far as actual questions. And you got the Rockstar Energy, you got the sugar-free. You guys ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
I know you're juiced up.
I'm ready to go. I didn't get, when I got introduced by Joe, I didn't get my last name. No, you introduced yourself with your last name.
Yeah.
So.
Anderson. There you go.
Wow.
Doug, you want your last name?
Kasky. There we go.
No, well, I mean, you could easily find Doug now. You can just get stalked. Like me, I'm dime a dozen. There's a million.
Dan Anderson, there's a billion guys out there.
So I'm like, let it go. Let everybody know.
It's like John Smith. And then, but Doug Kasky. I mean, that's a very specific name.
There's actually a few Doug Gaskys out there, so it might not be me you're looking for. There's a guy on a wine board in Colorado.
A wine board?
Yeah.
You actually know.
Googled my name.
You've Googled your name and you saw it. Were you the first guy that came up?
I'd like to think so, yes, Joe.
No, I mean, that's an actual real question.
No.
You Googled your name. Were you the first guy that came up?
No, that guy came up.
So
That's
you're
why
not-
it's burnt. It's ingrained in my brain. I got to take him down.
Actually, do that right now. Google your name.
Dude, if I Google
Dan
my
Anderson,
name in
are
what,
you the
like,
first guy that came up?
absolutely not.
Yeah, well, that sucks.
I mean,
I don't know what that feels like because I for sure am the first guy that comes up.
No, the
and
former
Google my name.
Giants catcher came up when I did it.
No, I am so important.
I mean, you know how many Dan Andersons there are just in San Jose?
Tell me.
Hundreds.
Probably
I
hundreds.
guess 37.
Hundreds.
You think?
Hundreds.
You think 100 Dan Andersons in San Jose?
100%.
Well, then what you should
Really?
do
I would guess 37.
is just be dedicated to
that's
the
mine.
craft and change your last name to Mojobreak. Then you'll be the only Daniel Mojobreak.
No, that is a job for Shane, actually. I think we can convince him to do that.
Do you just want to distance yourself from Shane?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
it
take
seems-
that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Makes sense. So we're talking hobby, Joe.
Yep.
What are some of the things in the hobby that you hate?
Oh, that I hate?
Yep.
Ooh, we're starting
are we
negative
starting right now?
We're
Yeah. Boom.
We're
Boom,
starting
hot seat.
negative. I like it.
Okay, yeah.
Don't say redemptions.
Well, things that I hate, I would say, a little
The lack of offensive
backstory. I would
linemen.
say this, I got into this as most kids did in the 90s, in that junk wax era. I was obsessed with sports cards, obsessed with collecting, spent every single dime that I had from my allowance from my mom and all that stuff.
How much was your allowance per week?
$1 a week.
$1?
Yeah, I got $1 a week.
Dude, you can get a couple packs.
I
of,
got 10 and I thought I was getting
Well, I had to
gypped.
save up, so that was like, it was special when I got packs. So I could never afford like the actual,
Anything.
top of the line stuff. No, I could. Back in the day, they were $1 packs.
90, 93,
But
94,
I would say the
score
things that
maybe.
I hate now, especially in the last few years. So I'm a huge fan of Bowman Prism. I love ripping all those products every single year, and I've noticed in the last few years that they become like, I don't want to say watered down, but it's just like there's so many parallels, so many different things to chase. Where when I first started getting back into it, probably back in like 2010, it was like, you get blue and orange and red and you chase superfractors, but the first autos in Bowman were a thing. It was fun to hit that and to hit a guy that was awesome. And now it's just like every single box has, they have to hit like 2 or 3 autos, and you're getting 97 different parallels. I don't like that. It's just like it takes away kind of like the enjoyment from me. And I've actually kind of gone away from opening so many different boxes, and I used to rip cases of that stuff just because it was enjoyment, and now I'm not, because it's like that enjoyment value that I had early in 2010 on is kind of gone. So
And it's the Kool-Aid analogy, right? You can make your Kool-Aid really sugary and flavorful, but if you have 100 more people to give Kool-Aid with, you got to put more water in it, right?
that was, I
That-
didn't know where you were going with that, but you brought it home. You brought it home.
You water it down to feed the masses.
You just
and
add more water.
You add more water,
You
which
add
is
more water.
the lavas and
It's what
all
it's what keeps us all
Yeah.
alive, though.
Yeah, but
Right?
But is the hobby alive?
Can't-
it is.
Glad.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's definitely alive. It's I think better than ever. I think more people are actually into it. I think there's more people that are interested in it. But for me, what I look at is like, and I think there's guys that, it was a lifelong, not obsession, but it was a lifelong hobby for me. And I would say in the last 2 years, I definitely feel it's a business 1,000%.
Right.
Which for me takes away some of the enjoyment value of like, I just like collecting. I like opening boxes. I just like, having this chase of, collecting my favorite athletes in whatever sport they are, going for the hits. But now it's just, I would say, much more of a hobby. It's lost the hobby feel and it's become much more of a business. But to answer your question, yes, it is alive as
Yeah,
all
I mean,
get out,
yeah, it's definitely been growing ever since 2020 was like the big jumping off point. And I mean, you want to counteract the watered downness but when you get that hit, it is harder to hit and it should go for more, right? So
But I mean, watering it down and making more parallels is a direct connection to growing the hobby. The bigger it gets, the more demand there is, the more supply you have to make. You got to make more parallels. You got to expand the checklist. That's why I said with Bowman specifically, wouldn't it be cool? They come out with different versions of Bowman. You have the HTA, the Bowman Chrome, where you only have autographs, no base cards. What if they actually had a Bowman release where they go back to the original colors? There is no shimmer, there is no speckle, there is none of that stuff. It's basically red, regular, orange, regular,
I like it.
gold. It's going to be more expensive.
It's kind of Kool-Aid I want to drink, Dan.
Well, I mean, it's just what I'm out here. I'm making things happen right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like that? You like
I
that?
do.
Is that a Bowman that you want to get behind?
Well, yeah.
that-
I mean, but that's the thing, though. It's an exclusive price point. That's the thing. It's like,
Yeah, it'll be pricier.
And only like 36 subjects like it used to be, like the Trout year.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, like, so think about what Bowman cost right now. $600 a jumbo box. Multiply that by 7 or 8. If we're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's what sucks. That basically prices a ton of people out, right?
yeah. I mean, to get back to your original question, like, that's what I would say concerns me most about the hobby that I fell in love with in the 90s, that it was a thing that was a hobby.
Yeah.
And it was, it's becoming much more of a business. And obviously, I mean, people have to make money. It's like the dollar drives everything, it seems, in the world now. But there's an opportunity to make money. You got to do it. You got to create the demand. You got to create the supply. You got to do all. I understand all that stuff, but it was like, I miss the feeling of the 90s, 2000s when it was just like, you go to your local card store and there were 4 or 5 people in there, and it was like, hey, this is cool.
Yeah.
This belongs to us, you know. You go to the card shows, and I miss that feeling, and I feel like they're getting away from what made that really cool for the guys that just like collecting. You know, I don't sell my stuff.
Right.
Like, I've maybe sold like probably, I would say 4 or 5 cards in my life. And like, I'm not in it to make money. I just have a collection, and it's personal and it's fun. It's something that gives me enjoyment. And I think that the hobby is kind of losing that appeal while they're trying to make a buck.
Well, the follow-up to that, you know, Michael Rubin, about a year ago when he first got back in, you know, buying companies and getting involved in the hobby, said that this industry has not been marketed for the last 7 to 10 years. Now, what you're saying is...
I don't think it's been marketed ever.
But you're talking about grassroots, right? That's marketing itself, right? That's just you telling a friend who's telling a friend who's telling a friend, and that's how the hobby seems to work. What do you think Michael Rubin means by that, and what do you think like could be marketed better right now in this hobby?
Well, I think that if you're looking at that, I mean, that's exactly what we were kind of just talking about. It's just like, it's a business, and he looks at it as a business. And if you look at any of the successful companies that have been built over the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's all some sort of marketing ploy, you know, pushing it out there to the consumers, creating the demand, shortchanging supply, and it's going to be a way to kind of drive up prices and revenue and all that stuff. So it all just comes back to how can he make money. But for people that have just always been into it, that you've already like enjoyed it, got into it, I don't like that. You know, I don't like it becoming a consumer driven, I don't know, product. You know, I enjoyed the whole entire like just hobby of like the actual thing. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not.
It
No,
does.
no,
I don't know. I don't
And-
know where to go with that, but like,
Well, and I have a, you know, you've been around business owners, team owners. Can somebody who's a team owner and a business owner be looked as part of the cool kids club amongst people that are like involved in something like that?
I mean, just from my personal experience with, you know, team ownership and, you know, like you said, different ownerships of different companies, it's definitely a separation. I think that there's the high level people. Like when I was playing, I played for a certain amount of years, and it's like you finally had access to the team owners and the ownership, and you've been around and you have certain notoriety, then you will get access to that. And so I think for the people that are, the big level breakers, the communities, they'll have access. I mean, they'll feel important, and they'll make sure they feel important. But for the general consumer, definitely will not be a part of that.
I feel like nobody really wants to see a rich guy get richer, right?
But I think it's on like the bigger shops, the bigger online retailers, the bigger group breakers, to make it's a trickle down effect to make their customers feel like they're included, make their customers feel like they have a seat at the table. They may not have a direct seat, but you're basically representing your customer base, your community.
Yeah, I mean, you would like to think that. I mean, I think that's just like in anything that you do. I mean, any kind of successful business, and whether it's sports, I definitely felt like as I got older and had the ear of Jed York and had the ear of the offensive coordinator and the head coach or whatever for whatever team I was, coaching staff I was under. As a leader and a guy that was older, like I had that responsibility to the younger guys, to the offensive line room, and it's the same thing here. It's like in the hobby of sports card collecting and collectibles, the bigger 100%. Like what you just said is exactly true. It's like the responsibility then falls on to, the card stores, the big breakers, everything that you have to make the consumer actually feel important. But then again, it's like, how does that get filtered through?
Sure. Sure. I mean, I think that's something that's a constant struggle with everybody, right? With everybody in this industry.
And it's always a struggle. When we first started, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago now, feels like at least.
1972.
1972,
it was a great year.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
You were 20 years old.
I
was negative.
You were for sure.
For sure.
15.
Yeah,
you have great hair, but it's also gray.
Dude, I've had gray hair since I was like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I mean, it's tough.
Surprise me at all.
I got bad genes.
Yeah, you do.
It's basically
in more than one way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also.
He still wears Jankos. I mean, that's what it is.
Huh? Coming back.
You said bad genes.
Come on, dude.
Coming back.
But no, it's what I was trying to get to is that there's always been a struggle with the hobby not being for profit, right? So like even when we started, it's like you guys are profiting off of what you do.
You're basically you're selling a case and you're profiting on that. That's not right. It's always been that. Like, and that mentality, when the industry is completely blown up in the last like 4 or 5 years, has pretty much gone away.
Yeah.
Now it's now it's like socially acceptable in this industry
to get your bag
to whatever catchphrase you want to put in there to make money, which
I would say to that though, like it feels a little bit like it's going down the. I don't know why we're going down this trajectory right now, but it's it feels a little bit like it's going down the trajectory. There we go. Of something like crypto.
Close.
Of what?
Of like crypto.
And
NFT and kind of like this is or sneakers. It's like, hey, I'm investing in something I can hold and I can drive the price up and I can make a profit off of it. And I don't think from the core of what the guys like you guys, when you guys got into it, it wasn't that.
No.
And I think the essence of what the hobby and the collectibles and sports card collecting or memorabilia and all that stuff, like I don't think that you can lose that because you will lose the base of what the foundation is.
The enjoyment and the passion has to be there, right?
Yeah, your number one motivation cannot be.
You can make money, but you can't lose
that can't be your number one motivation. Your number one motivation, and there's people who've got into this industry recently where you can tell like their number one motivation is money, and that's fine.
And they're out.
But they're out. As fast as they come in, they go out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this for 13 years. When we first started, definitely wasn't about making money. It was about seeing if we could build something where it can be financially stable, but it wasn't about like securing the bag. That wasn't even a phrase back then in the old
I was thinking of another word for that.
Now, man. Secured the bag.
I mean,
you got to
I mean, that right there, that is
a bat signed by Shohei.
That is an 8x10 of Sean Kemp. right there.
I mean,
That's hard to get.
That's hard.
are you breaking out the cards?
I was thinking about it.
All right, yeah.
Wanna get one?
Pull one out.
Before you do that, Doug, because I was told there'd be hard-hitting questions.
I
so
know.
I was
I
saying,
thought there was
we're
gonna be
just
a-
getting started.
I think this podcast like got super serious and
Well,
You guys are serious?
We're talking about everything we dislike, and it got deep. And then Doug has a bunch of money, and then like we're just talking about that.
That's
it
a
was weird.
summary.
Yeah,
So far.
I have gray hair.
So far.
I
let's,
was-
let's liven it up a little bit.
Well, if you don't-
I look
have
40 years older than I am.
Maybe
so I'm
we can call him.
essentially
We can
look
call
like
him
I'm 80.
Danny Gray.
Cody, what do you got?
Oh, dude,
Cody, what do you got?
Danny
All
Gray.
right. Well, yeah, this comes from the Peanut Gallery here. Cody Pasby, Mojobreak.com. A question for Joe. I did actually want to ask Joe because we're going on now. God, it's almost been 10 years since Levi Stadium opened, and I remember the first year of it, and that it was kind of like clouded. Like there was just a cloud hanging over everything that year. Even being in that building, I was working in that building a lot that year, and it just felt tense because of I'll set the stage if anyone doesn't remember who wasn't here in the Bay Area during that time. It was the last year of Harbaugh, but there was some uncertainty about that, and there was reported disagreements from ownership, from Balky. There was tension.
So much tension.
The team underperformed that year after going 3 straight NFC Championship games, and everybody just kind of felt like it was that.
It was
so
my worst year.
Yeah, I was going to say like.
Football.
As in terms of like records, I'm sure there've been worse years and there's probably been better years, but like that year to me stands out as like a huge turning point. So if you could just kind of take us back to that first year at Levi's, what was going on? Because I still feel like there's so much kind of left unanswered about what actually happened that
Was
year.
2014 was the first season Levi opened up, and there was so much tension between ownership and Harbaugh and general manager, everything. Balky, Harbaugh did not get along. It was known. Harbaugh was going into his 4th year, and he was an amazing coach, but he also is a unique coach. Obviously, his personality rubs people. He's hard to get along with consistently. If you're a Harbaugh guy, like you're in his camp, and if you're not, you're very against him. And that was building over like probably the last 2 years prior to that. Just looking back on that era of 49er football, it was I had never had so many conversations with ownership, with general management, with head coaches about stuff that did not apply to football at all. It was just like, why am I talking about this? Keep it about football. That was the situation that we were in. And then, the stadium opens up.
The grass is all messed up.
We kind of knew going into it that it wasn't going to be the year that we had in the prior 3. Going through training camp, kind of the talent was a little bit down. The guys that we were, relying on were getting a little bit older. Just the feeling was different. And there was so much going on behind the scenes. And then, it just kind of like it got off to a rough start. I don't remember exactly what it went throughout the season as far as specifics, but I do remember we had a game against the Chargers late season. It was a Sunday night football game, and we ended up losing that game, and it was like a big turning point because we had heard behind the scenes that Harbaugh was gone after the year. I was a huge Harbaugh fan. I still am a huge Harbaugh fan, and I wanted him, to be there. So we got in this huge argument. There's actually a meme that was going around. I don't know. I have it on my phone of me and him getting this huge argument on the sidelines. Like I'm cussing him out. He's cussing me out. And I basically was like, fight for your job, man. Like we need you to feel like you want to be a part of this. Like this is we have a new stadium. We have an amazing team. Like I came from 4 different coaches. Like I know the situation, how bad it can be, and I don't want to start that over again at that point in my career. And then from that point on, the season just got worse. We ended up not making the playoffs, and he got fired, went to Michigan. Everybody knows that story. And then we kind of started over, and exactly what I didn't want to have happen happened. But that dark cloud, like you said, about Levi Stadium and that whole entire like transition with ownership, the disconnect there, was 100% true, and it was real for the next probably 3 or 4 years. And then, I had a conversation. I was in Houston with Jed in the Super Bowl, and he was about to interview Shanahan because Shanahan just had gone. He was getting ready for the Super Bowl against the Patriots that year, and I believe it was then, or he. I don't know if he had interviewed him during that week or was waiting till after the game, and I was like, you have to make this happen. Like everything I've heard about from a player's side, management side, like he is the next big thing. Like he is an unbelievable coach. The way that he sees the game, you need to, whatever you can do, try to make this happen. And he was telling me that was his plan, and he was going to do everything he could. And then since then, when he came in there, that's why I was like so behind Shanahan, because I saw the system, saw what he was trying to build, him and John, and it was the first time in my career since probably before Balky and Harbaugh that I felt a connect from the top level down, like ownership, general manager, head coach, support staff, everything was on the same page, and I knew what they were going to build. From that point on, like we went 2-14 his first year. I forget, we didn't win our first game for like 11 weeks, but I was like so positive because I just knew I could see the vision of what he was building and the path of what he was building. And the second year was awful as well, but then that 2019 season was like a surprise to everybody, but it wasn't a surprise to people that were in the building. And they'll be good for as long as Shanahan's there and John's there and the whole entire system. From the top down, as long as they're there, they're going to be unbelievable. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer to your question.
I'm glad you said it because, like I said, this has been the only things I have to build off of are like people who were in that building who were like the reporters. I don't feel like a lot of people have really come out and been honest about what actually happened.
I would say this, like it's still kind of a weird guys that went through it and that were there. It's like it's kind of weird to talk about because. You still have, Jed's still there. That was when he was like his first real, like, he started taking over from his dad, from Dr. York, like, started taking over real responsibility. And that was his first kind of go around of being ownership. And so I think for players, it's still weird and kind of, touchy to talk about a little bit. And, I have the utmost respect for Jed and what he was able to build there. Because he really did learn on the job. And I think he would say the same thing, like looking back on that situation, it definitely made him a better owner. I think he learned a ton from that situation. Yeah. And I think where they're at now, I don't know if he would have been able to really accomplish and understand how it has to all fit together if he didn't go through that situation with Harbaugh and Balky.
It kind of had to happen in a weird way.
Well, I mean, there was like, the whole thing with Eddie, right? And then having to give up the team to his sister. And then I think there was, even before you were there, it was like, what was it like? Oh, they're single-ply toilet paper because they're still paying Steve Young and Jerry Rice and all this other stuff to get out of the cap. And, and then.
I will say when I first got drafted in 2007, and I came from small school, Central Michigan, where it was like we had steel lockers. It was nothing of what college football is today. And I think, looking back at going back to Central Michigan now, it's like completely different. Like it was essentially like a Division II school when I was there.
Step up from a high school.
And so then I finally got to Central Michigan, or I finally got to the Niners, and I got to the NFL, and I was like, I'm about to live life. Like it's going to be like the NFL. It's going to be awesome. And it was not that. Like I was like, am I still in the MAC? Like am I still in Central Michigan right now? Like it was, man. It was not what I was expecting at all. Like I was at least expecting it to be like a Big Ten school.
Have you actually been to?
They have made, God bless. I mean, the facilities now are unbelievable.
Did you ever go to Candlestick as a fan? Did you ever go to that place?
I've never been to California.
No, I mean
before I got drafted.
Because they had troughs to piss in.
I've actually but everything I've heard about. So I would look at looking at Levi, someone that played in both stadiums. As a player, I loved Candlestick.
Yeah.
Loved it. Like, it was the best place to play. The energy that was there, everything was so great. But hearing from my family, friends, people that were like actually witnessing the game.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it was so great and there was such amazing energy because no one could leave. It's exactly your point. Like no one would leave their seats because it was like, I'm not going to go sit in line for 45 minutes to sit and piss in a trough. I'll just hold it or pee where I'm at and just sit in the stands.
No, I
Like,
mean,
honestly, like my friends would like bring huge water bottles in the front.
Can
into the
confirm.
stadium.
Can confirm.
They would bring like huge water bottles and then pee in it the whole game because they were like, I'm gonna miss a whole quarter if I go take a pee in the stadium.
But
I did not like Levi's because the energy was all wrong. It was so different than what Candlestick was.
It took a while to get there. I mean, we've been to 20 or 30, I don't even know how many years straight, and we would tailgate at Candlestick, and that was like the best. Even though it was a dump, it was just like the atmosphere and the nostalgia and being out. I would go with my dad a lot.
There was nowhere else to be. I mean, it was a stadium, and everybody. It took a long time to get in there.
And you
once
couldn't leave
either. You couldn't leave. So it was like
It did take a long time to get in there.
And if you left, you kind of almost hope that it's fourth quarter, 8 minutes left. They're not going to catch up. We can go because if it was like down to the wire,
catching up. Why would he not be ahead?
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the other team's not catching up.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, there were some lean years.
Yeah, so it's because if you stay for the whole game, then you're going to tailgate again for 3 hours because you're like, there's no point of getting in that line.
We would do that as players. I mean, after the game was done, we would sit. That was one of the things I loved about it too, because there was like a players' lot that we had right outside the locker room, and we would stay there. Everybody would because exactly that. Like you couldn't get out there anyways.
Yeah.
And you would just sit in line for 2 hours. So it's like, all right, let's just let the traffic die down, and we would all tailgate after the game.
One way in, one way out.
That was the best, though.
Yeah.
I missed that, and I tried to bring it back at Levi's. It was like
Everybody's leaving right away.
yeah, because I mean,
You have your own exit back
traffic's
there. Yeah.
good. You have your own exit, and also, I mean, they got way better with security and stuff. So it was like, if you wanted to leave, you had like an escort that would take you out of the traffic to get out on the highway and stuff. And I would try, like when we first started opening in 2014, I would try to emulate what we had at Candlestick, and was like, hey, no, we're we bring in a caterer, we're in barbecue, we're partying after the game. Let's like unwind for a little bit. Let's all hang out, families, everybody. And it was just like people would just walk by and be like, no, I'm out of here, and kind of sucked.
My job's done here today. I'm out.
Maybe that's why we weren't very good for 5 next years that we had.
Yeah, it took a little
We
while
had
for
that
that stadium to like get some age to it. You know what I mean? Like I felt it. I mean, even living right there, it's like I finally felt like the last couple years where the energy was back to where it was at Candlestick. Because even Candlestick with bad years, there'd still be energy.
I think
there,
there was so much history there, right? I think with any new stadium,
Well, they priced out everybody.
You need to have those years that are fond memories to build off of, right? When you
Candlestick.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Candlestick had the guys and the gals that were, and the families that were lifelong season ticket holders from Kezar, from the stadium in the city that would just.
Well, there was so much history. Like
They remember the 80s. They remember
the catch was here.
Yeah.
The catch was here. Like you could basically, you walk in, you're like, there's been so much history that's happened at this venue.
was all 3 catches were there, I think, right? They have catch 2, catch
Yeah,
catch
1, 2,
3.
3.
Yep.
I'm not.
Catch 1 is
I know Dwight Clark. Catch 2 is
Catch
Terrell
2 is
Owens.
Terrell Owens.
Yep.
And catch 3 was the Vernon Davis,
Vernon
Alex
Davis.
Smith that
Saints
we won the
game.
game.
I wouldn't have got that one.
That was an amazing. That was like
I wouldn't-
everybody always asks what's my favorite memory in the NFL, and that by far, that game, the
It's like
last
4
5
minutes,
minutes of that
yeah.
game, there was I think 4 or 5 touchdowns scored in the last 5 minutes. I mean, they still like NFL will still put that out as like an all-time game.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest moments, being in that moment, and one of the cool things too. And it was like, I'm gonna go down a tangent right now, but one of the things that I'm so happy to see was the way that Alex Smith's career kind of unfolded after he left the Niners, because knowing the human being that he was, obviously wish that he never had the leg injury and everything, but knowing the human being that he was and how much work that he put into being the best quarterback, I always felt like he got a he had a brutal shake of situation that he was put in. You know, there was when he got there in 2005, there was no talent on that roster. No offense to anybody that was on that roster, but there was absolutely zero talent, and there was nothing around him. And he always got compared to Aaron Rodgers and the way his career went. But he was just the utmost like professional, amazing human being, and he really transformed that franchise around. By the time that he left, he was unbelievable. And that game, I remember vividly.
We were there because it was tied.
We were at that game.
We ran the bubble around the end, the little like quarterback sweep around the end. I cut down the safety, and he scored. And we went to the sideline thinking that was it. Like our defense was number one defense in the league that year.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, this game's over. They're gonna get a 3-and-out, or they're gonna stop them. And then they scored. The Saints scored. And so I remember the sideline was absolutely deflated because we're like, it took everything we had to score in that moment with 2 minutes left. Every single person, like we had belief, but it was also like so deflating when that moment happened when the Saints scored. And Alex was the first one that was up and down. He's like, this is going to be the best moment of our lives. Like he was just going down to everybody being like, just like, there was zero doubt that we were going to go out there and score. And he got everybody on that sideline believing, and we got pumped everybody up. And I remember in the huddle, we would break on the huddle, or we would get together on the sideline before we would go out for the first snap. And we're sitting there, and with the offense, he was just like the confidence that he had in every single person around him, and that moment to like rise to it and feel the energy that he was feeling in that moment was something I'll never forget. And I think about like that's the reason why for me that was the most important game and the most exciting game is because of that moment on the sideline that we had with Alex, not because of the moments that we had in the field and the way that it ended for us, but it was like
the true leadership,
seeing the leadership in that moment really play out, and knowing everything that he's gone through and what he went through before and then also after his career is a moment that I'll never forget as a player.
Yeah, we were at the game where it was a tie where he got hurt when the year that Cap came in. Was that 13 or 14?
Yeah, against the Rams where he got concussion.
Yeah, that was and it ended in a tie,
which is the worst thing when you're talking crap to your buddy about.
I remember,
the game.
I think the Rams missed a field goal in overtime. This is when you would kick a field goal, you'd win the game. It was first.
I think it was Greg the Leg too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the Niners missed a field goal, and I was like, it seems like there's been more ties since then, but like back then, I was like,
it's the only one I've witnessed.
Games
I remember that.
Can't end in a tie.
I remember we were going out after the post-game handshake, and it was the first. I think that was the first tie that I had been a part of, and I was like, I was going at the players, and I was like, what do we do? Like, do we feel good about this? Like, how do we feel about this? Like, this is
like a
weird.
half
This
point.
is awkward. Yeah.
Cody, you have any more of those hard questions?
No, well, the only other one I wanted to ask, Harbaugh is like a guy that's just only 3 years with the team, and he makes 4 years with the team, made such an indelible mark. And like, I went to a lot of press conferences during that era where he would they were sort of notorious, like the way he interacted with the media, and like it was like really funny at times, but also so strange to like almost foreign to people, I think, that aren't consuming football, playing football, doing football 24 hours a day, like as their job. Like he is so like it is absolutely everything. It feels like in his life is football. He consumes it, dreams about it, all that. So I just want to know like your favorite like off the field Jim Harbaugh memory, whether it be the funniest thing he ever did or the weirdest thing.
The perfect way. I mean, you encapsulated it. He's an incredibly unique person. He is. I mean, he's just like a lifer football guy. As a player, his dad was a coach forever. He grew up in that kind of environment and family. And I would say like the perfect way that I can encapsulate his personality was we had a moment. He was always a guy that would come so off the field we have a cafeteria, and everybody eats and you get your food, you go sit down, and it was always like a big thing. Like he brought it up, like, sit with people that aren't your position group. Like he didn't want to go in there and see a bunch of offensive linemen sitting together, a bunch of DBs sitting together, a bunch of linebackers sitting together. Like he wanted everybody to mingle. and that was great. Like it brought us closer as a team and all that stuff. But then he would also get his meals, and then he would just like intermingle with different people's conversations. So I remember one time sitting down, and he sat down at our table that we were at, and those conversations are always just like, you're shooting the shit and you're telling stories, and you're just, it is what it is. Like it's just like it's a bunch of high school kids that are at the lunch table the same way. That's the way you talk. And so I'm telling a story, and he's sitting at the table, and we get to the punchline of the story. Like I'm telling a funny story. I get to the punchline, table like erupts in laughter. And Jim, I remember the moment, is sitting across from me, and he's stone-faced. Like the whole time I hit the punchline, he's just stone-faced. Like no laughing, just staring at me. I'm like, shit. I hope I didn't offend him with what I said or what like that. And then I would say probably 10 seconds after everybody like died down and the conversation came back and someone else was taken on, he erupted. Like it took him 10 seconds. He erupted in laughter.
Like it just went through his head.
Yeah, but he was just looking at me and staring at me, and like where it made me uncomfortable that I was
like looking into your
shoot,
soul.
Like hopefully I didn't like offend him or anything. And then everybody else moved on, and everybody had the moment, and then someone else was telling a story, and then in the middle of someone else's story, he just erupted in laughter, and he was like, oh. So that's like a perfect encapsulation of his personality. Like he's a tick off, but I loved him for it, and he was an amazing coach. And that would probably be like one of my just unique stories that I have of Harbaugh.
I think it also kind of speaks to like something I always noticed about him was it feels like he will always he did always have that like 5 or 10 second pause to kind of like take it all in, kind of formulate the answer, whatever, or formulate the thought.
You know who he reminds me a lot of as far as personality, and I think, and I say this in an endearing way, is Mike McDaniel, the head coach for the Dolphins.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Being with him as an offensive coordinator for the Niners for how long he was there, for the 3 years that we were together. His personality is a lot that way, where it's like very authentic, and he's not going to change, and it rubs some people the wrong way, and some people it's endearing, and he's not going to change, and he's authentically him, and it just works, like for me. But also it's the same way. I understand why it like, rubbed ownership, and it rubbed, Bulky, and it rubbed other people the wrong way, because it's like, it's weird. But I thought of it as endearing, because I appreciated that about him. Like, it was like, he's not going to change.
Confidence.
He's not BSing anybody.
Yep.
And McDaniel's that same way. He's that same kind of coach where he could rub people the wrong way, and you could get in a situation where you're like, what the heck is he talking about? But I think as players, you respect someone that's just going to be authentic.
One more quick add-on before I move into maybe a
I
funny
can't wait
question.
for those questions.
Jim Schwartz, were you in that mix when that happened? At that,
I was, and actually,
that's one of the funniest football moments I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
just watching that game.
Harbaugh and Schwartz apparently had some beef personally. I think before that, I don't know the actual story, but he took it some certain way that he was like posturing on him with that handshake, and I was not involved in that. I was actually already in the tunnel. We were in Ford Field, and I was walking up the tunnel, and I remember just like a commotion behind me, and players were coming up and was like talking about it, like, "Oh man, did you see, like, they got a fight? Like, it was amazing. Like, there's a fight back there. Oh yeah." Like, everybody was like super pumped up, but I wasn't a part of that. But Harbaugh also, like, he loved that. Like, he owned that.
What was it? What's your deal?
He was like,
Right?
he was like, after the fact, he was like, yeah, I didn't back down. Yeah, we were ready to go. Like,
Didn't he?
all right.
wasn't he
What's
at-
your
All right,
deal
Jim,
was?
what were you actually gonna do?
Yeah. What's your deal was Pete Carroll?
Oh,
back
that's
at
right.
Stanford.
That's right.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
at
at
Stanford.
And then of
Stanford,
course the
USC.
two cross paths in the other.
Yeah. All right, this is a would you rather.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to put this one out there, but we'll see. Would you rather give up sex for a year or your cell phone for a year?
Cell phone for you. I would never give up sex.
Cell phone. Dude, I can't stand my cell phone. It's not even for me, is it?
I
Is
mean,
the
I would
question
give my
not for
cell
me?
phone for your. I mean, that's not even a question. Who would say the opposite?
I
Who would
think
give up
I'm thinking about
sex?
I'm thinking about getting rid of my cell phone anyway. That'd be great.
It's true. We could all use a break from our cell phones.
Yeah, that's not even a question.
Beforehand,
no brainer right there.
As long beforehand, just Google active payphones. Just find the one or two that are still left in your city, and you're set.
Not even
Pager.
that, no.
Pager.
Pagers, yeah. Just get a pager.
Get a pager.
Pager
Try to
code.
hold you.
I still know it. What's up?
Would you rather accidentally laugh loudly at a funeral or fart while giving a speech at a wedding?
Okay, fart at giving a speech in a wedding. I would rather do that. I think fart. I just for the comedic value.
Yeah, laughing at a funeral. is tough,
Laughing at
right?
a funeral, you never come out good. Where
No.
like if you're giving a speech at a wedding and fart, like that's definitely
Well,
something.
people
that you
are
could
already
do.
in a pretty good mood, right? At the wedding.
Yeah.
Like-
And you can use it, as comedic banter.
Yeah, to the best man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let one out.
Oh, shoot.
Would you rather?
Sorry.
Would you,
Blowing out.
would you rather spend a year living in a nudist colony or within the Amish community?
Actually, okay, that's a good question. I would spend a year. Okay. I would say nudist colony for
Yeah,
sure.
it seems easier, right?
Yeah.
Less rules.
Amish, dude.
It just no. I mean,
free
I'm
ball.
actually like I would say if you're like to really take that seriously, it would be very interesting. I think just for the life experience, very interesting to live in the Amish community. But I think it would be way more fun if you're just naked.
Yeah,
Well, my question is it going to be a controlled temperature? Like, is it going to be?
It's got to be on a
cold?
beach, right?
No, but everybody's
be
dealing with
coastal.
the same thing.
That's true.
I actually like. I would find it interesting, the Amish community.
Yeah.
I think I'd like that.
Yeah, you're a never nude, right?
I'm a never nude.
So
I'm a big naked guy.
There's dozens of us.
I love being naked.
what would be the absolute worst name you could give your child?
Adolf.
I like how you didn't even hesitate on that. That's
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, that's probably the worst, right?
If you
I
could,
think like if you named your kid Adolf or anything like that definitely is like oh, you're an asshole.
there's some ethnic names too, like in the Vietnamese community, the PHUK or
Yeah.
PHUC.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's I don't think they know
Fook.
though. Yeah, Fook.
Translates.
Go
differently.
Peter.
Um,
at that point.
Yeah, Adolf. Not a name that I don't
Yeah, I
think
think
has
that's
been
number one.
used. No, I don't.
No, I think it's the number
been
one
used.
worst name.
It's been used.
Yeah. I mean, unless
And
you're
maybe
like,
People out there that are named Adolf.
Are they?
Yeah, there definitely are.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, well, this
Then
is
you go with Dolph.
This isn't Adolf level, but I remember there was like a trend. I think it's ended now, but of like people naming their kids ESPN, like Espin. I remember that being like a thing in like the 2000s. Like, who's doing that? Why would you curse that child with that name? Why would you do that?
What would be the equivalent to girls? Karen now?
I think Karen.
I don't think
whoa.
Karen is
Karen's
on the same level as Adolf.
Quite Adolf, but
But there's not
yeah.
really a female name that's really like,
No,
oh,
we can name your kid. You name your daughter Adolphia.
if you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep? Dan can think about this one too.
Okay, so I would say just based off of usage, Instagram I would probably keep. Maps, like navigation.
Okay.
And then like Trulia.
What?
Trulia.
What's that?
Trulia is like the real estate. I
like
looking at-
Zillow.
Yeah, it's like Zillow or Redfin or.
That's a good one.
I thought I was the one. With
I
the
like.
money.
I got going there all the time. I don't know why. I'm the same as you. Like I just look at houses.
Yeah, I do. I do
think-
that too.
Like,
What about you? What would you'd get rid of all of them, huh? if you had a
well,
choice?
I'd get rid of all the social media ones for sure. Out of here. Banking, personal banking one, I'd need.
Yeah,
But you
I
can
mean,
go
yeah,
into a
you
bank?
need that. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, definitely. Good mode.
And that probably like E-Trade probably falls under that. So anything like personal finance, I'd probably keep.
I'd
That's
probably
about-
keep eBay.
And-
I don't know why. I'd probably keep eBay.
And Maps, because I probably use that the most.
Maps, yeah. But you have it in your car now, so you could probably do it.
I don't. My car's old, dude. I don't have a sick whip like you guys.
Yeah, it's true. Your car is definitely not a sick whip.
It's not a sick whip.
No, your car stinks.
Yeah.
But he's got that extra money, you know.
Yeah.
So, who would play you in a movie?
Dolph Lundgren.
No. Probably Rob Riggle.
Okay, I can see it. Dan, who would play you? Actually, have Joe answer who would play us.
Ooh, okay.
Dan, okay. Oh, like Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
That's good though, right? I mean, it's just because you're really tiny, and he was like 5'5".
I'm like 5'7". It's almost average height.
That's heavy, man.
Slightly below.
Did you just hear what you just said?
Yeah, slightly below.
No, you just said almost average height.
Almost average height.
Almost average.
What's the
Almost
average height of a what's the average height of a man?
In my circle, probably 6.
In your circle, well, come on.
7'3". In Joe's circle.
Yeah.
Blessed with those genetics. So I'm a small man in your circle then.
So yeah, Doug.
5'9", by the way.
Seth Rogen.
Okay, I'll take that.
We'd have a Seth Rogen, Michael J. Fox, and Rob Riggle.
And what about Cody over there?
Cody.
Doug.
Doug would play me.
Actually, no. You would be a Seth Rogen.
Yeah, he's got more of a beard than me.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'll take
yeah.
the
I think
Rogen.
Seth Rogen for sure for you.
I'll take Rogen.
Doug. Let me look at you. Hold on. I'm gonna judge you right
Dipping
now.
in my soul.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of anybody right now.
I've been compared to Kevin Smith before.
Yes, that's a good
there
call
he
right
is.
there, Kevin Smith.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, Kevin Smith.
Also
we
Kevin
got
James.
Kevin
Seth.
James.
Kevin
yes.
James.
Based on facial
Anybody else named Kevin?
expressions.
I like Kevin Smith for
Kevin
you.
Smith.
I like Seth Rogen for Cody. Michael J.
Fox.
1,000% for you.
Yeah.
And Rob Riggle.
And then Rob Riggle.
Thanks again to Joe Staley for joining us for that interview. That was a lot of fun. Hope you guys had fun listening to it. If you liked hearing from Joe, we're going to be hearing from him a lot more as we get a little closer to the National, so stay tuned for that. And of course, guys, if you're going to be at the National, once again, join us for the big karaoke party at the National. And it's not just karaoke. If you don't feel like singing, don't worry about it. We have so much food, drink, giveaways, special guest appearances. Make sure to RSVP. The link is in our social medias. Go now, RSVP. And spots are going fast, guys. So get in on it while you can. And, of course, join the karaoke party. Why not? It's going to be fun. We're going to give stuff away. We're going to have hobby influencers there, a star-studded panel of judges. Going to be a lot of fun. And just across the street at the Hilton in Rosemont, you just take that bridge from the National to the Hilton, and you can join us for a really fun night. Thursday, July 27th. That is going to be the night for the party. Go and RSVP. And thanks so much for listening to this edition of The Hype. We'll be back next week, full strength. Doug will be back with us. And make sure to subscribe to wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, go to Mojobreak.com. Mojobreakshop.com is your home for sealed wax. Mojobreak.com, your home for breaks. For Doug, for Dan, for C-Rad, I'm Cody. We will catch you next week on The Hype.